Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a truly fantastic day today on this Monday. So it's Monday. You know what time it is. It's time to give shout outs to the people who left super thanks during the week. And like I started doing last week, I'm just dedicating the video to those because they can get kind of long. A lot of people who leave super chats are asking me to address certain things, and I want to take the time to do that. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Michael Jordan fans are the best for having me on as a guest along with some other great content creators. Forgive me if I messed this up, but I think his name is Politicus Rex. He's a pretty new channel. Shout out to Hoop God 23. And shout out to Sports and Fitness Rants. It was a pleasure to be on the panel with these guys talking about Michael Jordan and the greatness of Michael Jordan and some of the topics. So if you hadn't seen it, please go check it out. And I will be posting that on this channel as well. But again, shout out to Michael Jordan fans are the best. If you're not subscribed to him, please go over and show him some love. So let's get into these super thanks because you see the title of the video, and I mean, the title seems so ridiculous, but you know, we got to address this, and this is one of the things that were left in the super thanks to address. Now, you would think with someone named the Chosen One, the King, the so-called GOAT, that this would not be a headline for any video or article about him, but here we are. So first up, we have a longtime supporter of the channel. Big shout out to you and your wife. I hope you both are doing well. Thanks so much for the $5 super thanks. And he left a comment on the Fanboy Files, which they seem to be particularly fond of. He says, we laughed so much. My wife laughed throughout. Thanks, Uncommon Sense. And thank you guys. I know I say this all the time, but I truly cannot thank you both enough for your continued support. Next up, we got Snug Chamberlain, and this was on my Ja Morant Cooks Michael Jordan video. And he says, thanks. My guy, great content as usual. I've got two topics I'd like to hear your insight on. And the first one is, how do you grade Joe Dumars' defense on Michael Jordan? Just the eye test. You watching him guard Michael individually. Jordan says Dumars made him react and make moves much faster than he wanted to a lot of times, which resulted in Jordan trying to shoot over Dumars a lot. They had great respect for each other. Joe Dumars says they guarded each other for 14 years and never said one bad word to each other. Love to hear your thoughts on that. So let me go ahead and talk about that. I think, it's probably arguable that Joe Dumars definitely guarded Michael Jordan the best in a lot of ways. And, you know, a lot of fanboys try to diminish the fact that Joe Dumars was so much shorter than Michael Jordan. But again, to me, it's all about the mindset, and Joe Dumars was supremely locked in. And I believe I know what interview you're talking about. If you're talking about the one where it's him and Isaiah sitting across talking to Steph and Clay, and Joe Dumars says that was the one matchup he looked forward to. And here's an important thing that he said that I think these modern players can't really relate to. He said, if you're a competitor, you want to play against the person who you know is going to bring out the best in you. You know, and I think that is a very true statement. If you're a real competitor, you do not want to beat up on the person that you know is inferior to you. You want to play against the best and challenge yourself. Again, that is why Michael Jordan or partly why Michael Jordan is considered the greatest of all time, because he always wanted to challenge whoever people said was the best or whoever people said may be close to him. He wanted to shut that down. He always wanted to play against the best competition, and he understood that he couldn't be respected until he beat the best, which again is a reason why he would never join up with a Larry Bird and Magic Johnson to get his rings. Yeah, so Joe Dumars, I mean, if you go back and watch them, you can say whatever you want about Joe Dumars' height, but he was like locked in. As a matter of fact, it's two people that I think about that is exciting, maybe the most exciting matchups to see on Michael Jordan. And to me, that is Joe Dumars and John Starks. Now, John Starks, I feel like, was a little more inconsistent, especially if we're talking about through the regular season. But during the playoffs, man, John Starks gave you some exciting moments against Michael Jordan. And you knew that, again, it was a dogfight. But yeah, I think that says a lot that Joe Dumars and Michael Jordan never had any bad words. And I think that's just that respect that two men can have for each other when they both know that they are both literally giving it all out there. Like when it's no alternative tactics, like when you're playing the right way, which again, this is probably why Jordan didn't get along with the rest of the Pistons, especially Isaiah Thomas. But Joe Dumars always played fair. You didn't see any dirty tactics coming from Joe Dumars, and luckily, Joe Dumars seemed to be enough of a man to not need those alternative tactics. He just said, "I'm going to play this guy as hard as I possibly can without playing football. I'm just going to play this guy by moving my feet, by being so supremely locked into what he's doing that I challenge him to the best of my ability." And I feel like that is something you have to respect no matter who you are. Perhaps unless you're a fanboy. But anyway, so let's move on to the second thing. Second, I saw an interview with Tyronn Lue, former Cavs coach. He said they were getting dusted in the playoffs by the Warriors, and he turned and looked down at the bench, and there was LeBron James filing and manicuring his fingernails. And he put, I don't have to say it, he actually wrote this in the comment, "Fanboys," capital, in all caps, appropriate. That at the end of the bench while his team is getting their asses kicked. Yeah, some leader, right? He's the GOAT, right? He's a joke. Lue followed by saying that he had to tell LeBron to be a leader and stop turning the ball over and act like you want to be here. What coach has to tell a star player that? Yeah, okay, yeah, we gonna get into this. Or the self-proclaimed GOAT. Phil Jackson wouldn't have had to tell Jordan or Kobe to be a leader. Pat Riley wouldn't have had to tell Magic or Kareem to be a leader. Red Auerbach wouldn't have had to tell Bird, McHale, or Parrish to be a leader. Greg Popovich wouldn't have had to tell Tim Duncan or Tony Parker to be a leader. Yep, it's more evidence. This is more evidence of what we were saying, and I believe I've seen this interview too. I believe this is the interview I've referenced a few times in different videos. Yeah, I mean, what can we even say about this? What can you say about, again, a self-proclaimed GOAT, someone who they're constantly trying to tell us how great he is, sitting on the bench? I mean, this doesn't even seem like I'm actually having to say this on a video. Sitting on the bench, filing and manicuring his fingernails in the playoffs. Fanboys, all of you need to pack up your bags and go home. There is no debate. Fanboys, all of you need not talk basketball to anyone ever again. All of you should just go in your house and just stay there for the rest of your life. This, again, You guys are out here trying to defend the indefensible. What matter of fact, let's go ahead and say, please, any fanboy, what do you have to say about that? What do you have to say about that? What can you say about that? I mean, I really want you to put in the comments, and I know what you're going to do. Oh, well, he's still the all-time leader in scoring. He's part of the 40K, 10K, 10K club. If you are so disengaged in a playoff game, to be sitting on the bench and number one, that is so disrespectful to the game of basketball. That is so disrespectful to the fans. That is so disrespectful to all the past players who put in work so that LeBron James can make the kind of money, so that all these current players can make the kind of money that they play. That is a slap in the face to basketball and to the legacy of basketball, to everyone from James Naismith on. It's ridiculous. And again, to me, this is the kind of stuff where it's, like I said, it's completely indefensible. You know, but it goes hand in hand with everything else that LeBron James does. And that just, let's go ahead and put it out there. LeBron James does not care about basketball like that. I mean, he had the nerve to get on the ESPYs and talk about what he's done for the game of basketball. The only thing you've done for the game of basketball, LeBron James, is benefit from what everybody who has come before you has done, especially Michael Jordan, when you're talking about all the salaries that people are getting. That's the only thing you've done for the game of basketball, not to mention is diminish it and make it less popular. This goes hand in hand with the 2011. It's just low moments that no so-called superstar should have. Like, you're in a playoff game, losing, and okay, this is ridiculous. Fanboys, you guys have no leg to stand on. Really, anything that you say, there's a few things that you just can't defend. You can't defend this. I mean, to me, this is like the equivalent of, you know, being in the corporate world and you're in some big CEO meeting that, you know, you may be trying to close on the biggest deal for the company, and the meeting is not going the way you want it to go, so you just pull out a fingernail file and start filing your nails and giving yourself a manicure. Yeah. Okay, fanboys, we're done here. Shout out to @SnugChamberlain. Thank you so much for the $5 super thanks. Wow. The kind of stuff we have to discuss regarding someone who's supposed to be the greatest player, who a select portion of the population want to say is the greatest player to ever play the game, is ridiculous. Yeah. All right. Once again, shout out to Snug Chamberlain 9986 again. And this is from the same video. He says, thanks. I got one more point I thought was interesting. It's about load management and how these so-called star players duck competition and fear, in my opinion, because he will show how less superior they in fact are to their peers. Interestingly enough, I found out that guys like Elgin Baylor, Bob Cousy, George Mikan, Bob Pettit, Sam Jones all had regular civilian jobs and still practiced and played every single game they possibly could. And guys are getting millions of dollars and can't stay on the floor. How is that possible when these guys have way less they put their bodies through? I think he meant, how is that possible when guys have way more they put their bodies through, more turbulence, and still came out to perform on the NBA level despite it being slower or different era? But I'm sure you fanboys will have some incompetent response. Great comment, and this kind of ties back in to what I was saying about the whole LeBron filing his fingernails during the playoffs day. Every time I say that, this feels like some alternative world. Like, we are really having to, okay. Anyway, Yeah, it goes back to that point. It's like that. Those kind of antics are highly disrespectful to all those guys you just named. You know, for you fanboys who don't know, yes, during the early days of basketball, players would have a regular day job and still have to practice and play games. While these players today are now complaining that 82 game season is too many games, while they're making more money than ever. I've said this before, you know, when you accept a job, you accept the terms and conditions of the job. If someone says, hey, I have a job for you building a shed for my backyard. It pays this amount of money, you negotiate the amount of money, and then you accept that is what the job pays. You don't get to say, oh, well, this shed was harder to build than I thought. I think I'm going to need more money. Or I think, you know, I know we agreed on me finishing this job in a month, but I think it's going to take 3 months. You don't get to do that, especially when everyone who's come before you does the job the same way, and you're getting paid more money than everyone to do this job. I mean, it's just totally ridiculous. Again, we live in such an entitled society today that these players actually feel entitled enough to say stuff like this. But, you know, as the saying goes, hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And, you know, if the NBA is not careful, if Commissioner Voldemort is not careful, we are going to be seeing some hard times. And we're already in hard times for the people who really had a passion for basketball, for the people who grew up in the 80s and 90s. This is already hard times because the NBA is hard to watch. But to me, if they don't make some changes, you know, within the next 10 years, I think we could see some major, I mean, if you think about all the stuff that was happening this summer with the ESPN layoffs, and it just seems like everything associated with the NBA, you know, was taking a hit in the financial department. So, you know, I think we are on the verge of hard times if somebody doesn't come to their senses in the NBA. But yeah, you know, back in those days, I feel like, well, number one, when you have less, you appreciate more. You know, when you have less, it really shows how much you want to do something. I think that's kind of what the long and short of it is. When you have less, it really shows how dedicated you are to whatever it is you say you're passionate about. Like, it's easy to talk a good game when you're getting millions of dollars to play basketball. And you, again, everybody's a politician nowadays. They know the right thing to say. You know, I love the game. You know, the day I don't give it all my all on the court, I'll walk away. You know, they have to cut my head off and bury me 6 feet deep before I give up. You know, I may go sit at the end of the bench and give myself a manicure, but I'm not gonna give up. You know, I may leave the game early, but I'm still there in spirit. It's easy to pretend that everything's all good when you're making millions of dollars, but when you see the real passion, again, people forget Jordan wasn't making a lot of money till like his last 2 seasons in Chicago. He wasn't making a lot of money, you know, and everybody was saying that this guy was the greatest player they had ever seen not too long after he entered the NBA. But he wasn't making a lot of money for most of his career. As you all know, Scottie Pippen wound up making more money in his NBA career than Michael Jordan. But Jordan actually had a passion for the game. And all these players that you name who were willing to work a day job because the NBA wasn't paying enough back then, who were willing to work a day job and still practice and play, that is passion for the game. That is passion for the game. And, you know, let's just go ahead and say it. They can tell us what they want, but there is not anybody in the NBA, I don't believe, who has that kind of passion for the game. Again, people like to bring up Giannis, and to me, yes, relatively. But Giannis is a part of this generation. Relative to everybody in the NBA, Giannis has more passion. But unfortunately, there's nobody in the NBA that I can point to and be like this guy is passionate on the level of the players from previous decades. There's nobody I can look at and say that. Because it's part of the culture. The NBA culture has been tainted with entitlement. And, it's going to be hard to escape that until they start to shift the culture of the NBA. But anyway, shout out to Snug Chamberlain, 99.86 for the $2 super thanks. So much appreciation, not only for your continued support, but for the great comments that you leave. Thank you so much. Next, we have MJ's Up 1 with the $5 super thanks, and this is on my No One Scared of the King video. Nobody fears LeBron. And he just has a comment. Says, it's weird LBJ yells after dunking at age 39. Most guys who dunk in their twilight years are calm because they've learned to conserve energy. But LBJ conserves energy on everything else. Offense, defense, but not dunks. Curious. I thought he was a basketball genius. Guess I wouldn't fear a guy who's that stupid. With laughing emoji. Yeah, you know what? So I read this comment and I think I actually responded to it. But, when you think about it, it's actually not that surprising. It's definitely weird that a 39-year-old is yelling after dunks in the way that LeBron James does. But it's not that surprising because LeBron James still carries himself like a kid. Like he still thinks he's that kid from Akron. And a lot of the antics is like that of a spoiled kid, spoiled brat, so to speak. So it's not that surprising. But, like you said, usually when players get into their older years, they've just gotten so used to being able to do what they can do that it's not a big event anymore. I've mentioned this in the video before, like Michael Jordan and game winners. If you recall Jordan's early years of hitting game winners, he would be jumping up and down, yelling. But his last few years of Chicago, if you look at his celebrations after game winners, they were very reserved. It was just like, well, number one, he was so used to doing it. He was so used to doing it that it wasn't a surprise to him or anyone else anymore. So, yeah, it's par for the course with LeBron James. And, he says he conserves energy on everything else, offense and defense, but not dunks. Yeah, because the dunks is a chance for him to garner some praise for himself, to garner some attention, to have James Worthy up there talking about, that may be the dunk of the century. Him getting 2 feet off the ground to dunk over Paul George. Yeah, okay. But anyway, shout out to MJ's Up 1 with the $5 super thanks. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And next up, we have at Francis DeJoya, 523. And he comes through with the $125 super thanks. And he simply says, thanks. Hey, thank you, man. I cannot thank you enough for supporting the channel with the super thanks. That means so much. It means so much that you guys value what I do enough to support it like that. So again, thank you all. At Francis DeJoya, thank you so much for the $125 super thanks. Much, much appreciated. And last but not least, another familiar face at Vernon Lee Warren 280. With the $2 super thanks, he says, hey, my brother, thank you for all the great content that you put out. If you get time, please check this video upload of the Bulls 6 championships. This is the title of it. How MJ and the Bulls won 6 out of 6 in the NBA Finals in 9 hours. Every game is in high definition. You will love it and will be able to make tons of videos from it. A lot of Bulls players are never mentioned that contributed heavily to those championships other than Jordan and Pippen. I think I responded as well to you. I will definitely check that out and be doing some videos from it. But thank you for your continued support on the channel. Thank everyone for their continued support on the channel. Like I said, when I started this channel, it was really about the fact that, you know, I was just tired of watching the media keep telling me things that wasn't adding up, like I said, and I was a fan of Too Raw, and I said, you know what, let me just, I was kind of doing it, you know, to put my point of view out there, because again, there's a lot of people that talk about stats and whatnot, and stats are great, but again, to me, the whole story is what you see, you can believe, you know. So I'm heavily about the eye test. I am heavily about the mind and the mentality that goes behind these great players. And I think that is the most important thing. So like I said, I just wanted to put my point of view out there and hope that some people could relate to it. So the fact that you all show up and continue supporting means a whole lot, and is inspiring for me. So thank you guys so much for all the support, for all the comments, for all the likes, for all the subscribes. If you've been watching my channel and haven't subscribed yet, again, I ask that you please do so. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think about LeBron James sitting on the bench in the playoffs, giving himself a manicure? That sounds like GOAT behavior to me. Let me know what you guys think. You all have a truly fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. All right.